What's going on, everybody? It's your boy LightningSnow back today with another video. Today I have my good friend Daigo Knight back with me. Say hey, everybody.
Hello, everybody. How are you guys doing tonight?
Today we are going to be covering a topic that I just came across a couple days ago watching a TikTok video of this episode of Naruto, and I was like, you know what, this would be a good fight to cover. And so, for clarity, the fight we're talking about is Obito versus Kabuto, and more specifically in the context of a scene in this episode where Kabuto rolls up on Obito and more or less blackmails him into joining forces in the Fourth Great Ninja War. And so like Kabuto tries to enlist his forces to help Obito in the war, and Obito's not really having it. He's like straight up says, "And what if I refuse?" And then Kabuto proceeds to summon 5 Akatsuki members with Edo Tensei, and says like, "Yeah, like." Pretty much threatening him is like, yeah, if you don't join forces with me, I'm going to more or less kill you. So today we're just like, I've always wondered like how this fight would have gone down had it actually happened. Now, for the sake of the video and this hypothetical situation, we're going to restrict Madara's Edo Tensei, because obviously if we do that, then yeah, Kabuto wins. So but if we restrict Madara, it becomes a bit more grounded in this fight. Daigo, what do you think?
Yeah, so in this situation, there are two arguments you can make for Obito's case here. The one and the most usual argument, I would say, is that Obito is very confident that even after Kabuto summons the entire Akatsuki, not the entire Akatsuki, but the most powerful Akatsuki members as Edo Tenseis, Obito is just like, yeah, I don't really care about this. I'm still gonna take you on. And it's only after he summons Madara that Obito's like, okay, I have no choice. Gotta join you now.
He's like,
But then
so
you can
he's like, so about joining forces, right? So
Yes. The other argument you can say is that Obito's just bluffing in that scene, and when Madara comes in, he's like, yeah, I cannot maintain my bluff anymore, because if he calls my bluff, then I'm completely screwed. There's no way. So he just joins forces.
yeah, I
with
mean,
Kabuto.
in that scene, Obito was showing more emotion than Kakashi does almost the entire series when he was like panicked. He's like, where did you get that? And so yeah, like you said, I didn't mean to cut you off, but yeah, I just thought it was funny.
Yeah, just a weird thing about Madara's Edo Tensei in this situation is that even if Kabuto were to use Madara against Obito, Madara can resist the Edo Tensei, pull on you. He just like Hashirama could. Like
Yeah.
Kabuto couldn't do anything to control Madara. So even if Kabuto brought Madara into the battlefield, it's more likely that Madara would side with Obito because Obito's his underling anyway. So
Yeah.
it's just this weird thing. I think Obito is just very scared at the mere possibility of Madara being used against him at all.
Yeah. So with that in mind, like I said, that's why we're just gonna restrict Madara and just go with this hypothetical Kabuto plus his Edo Tensei army versus Obito. And when I say army, I don't mean like, again, we're gonna restrict every other Edo Tensei that Kabuto has. It's just the 5 Akatsuki members plus Kabuto himself. Because like Daigo said earlier, like, I mean, Obito seemed pretty confident that he could still take Kabuto and I mean, now again, like, confidence is a very vague term because we don't know if it was confident in the fact of his
Yeah.
abilities to take on the Edo Tensei, or confident that he could still survive because he can use Kamui to retreat. So to me, I don't know. It's very up in the air. Daigo, I mean, what were your thoughts on that?
Well, I think it's a definite possibility that Kamui can take him out of that situation if he plans accordingly. However, Kabuto is actually very intelligent, and he seems to know how to use his Edo Tensei very well. I mean, when he took over Nagato and was fighting against Naruto B and Itachi at the same time, and Nagato had no influence on what he was doing whatsoever, Kabuto was doing a very good job. Like, he literally used every single ability of the Rinnegan, I think. Every single path, Kabuto used it in that fight. So he had the knowledge to do well with every single Edo Tensei he had. And those 5 Edo Tensei he shows in that particular scene were Kakuzu, Itachi, Nagato, Deidara, and Sasori.
Yeah.
And, I mean, especially Itachi and Nagato could be very problematic. Because, well, he doesn't use Deidara to his fullest potential. If Kabuto really wanted to be mean about using Deidara, he could just put a lot of clay on him and make him use C4 Karura in the middle of the alliance nonstop. This would be very devastating, but of course, well, Kishimoto had to kind of nerf this possibility because otherwise it would be insane. But even still, if you consider those Edo Tensei not at their peak condition, which was the way they fought in the war, especially Sasori, because he didn't have as many puppets as he had in in his fight against Sakura and Chio.
Yeah.
They're still gonna be very problematic for Obito regardless.
Yeah. Well, at the very least, I could like if at the very least Sasori is going to be there as like more like mild support. You know, but again, I don't even think it really like Sasori really needs to get too involved, because like again, and I was going to bring this up to you because like Kabuto has the ability to restrict, certain emotions from the Tensei. So like certain ones, I could see Kabuto like intentionally or deliberately controlling their actions, but people like Itachi, who's a really clever tactician, like I could see Kabuto just being like still controlling Itachi, but like letting Itachi like use his own intelligence and tactical skills because Itachi's. I don't know if that's a possibility.
The thing about the Edo Tensei is that when the Edo Tensei is on autopilot, let's say when Kabuto is not really controlling them, they're not as powerful as they could be because they're just essentially reacting to what's being thrown against them to the best of their ability, but they're not actually thinking strategically how they would back when they were alive. And then when Kabuto takes over them, he can use them to their fullest potential, but it's Kabuto using them and not the Edo Tensei. Like the best possible scenario for Kabuto is to have someone like Madara, who is very smart and can use his own abilities to its fullest potential, but then he also is aligned with Kabuto, so he can use Madara properly. So I still would think that most of the Edo Tensei that he would use against Obito here wouldn't be at their fullest potential because they would probably not want to fight against Obito, especially Sasori and Deidara, for example.
Yeah.
I mean, Itachi, I can maybe see Itachi wanting to fight against Obito and not really resisting the Edo Tensei as much.
Yeah.
But even still, if those five are nerfed, heavily nerfed, it's going to be difficult regardless because they just have so many different abilities to deal with Obito's Kamui here.
Now, the thing we have to keep in mind, though, is like, because I just thought about this actually. So, like you said, like Sasori in this particular situation, he won't have as many puppets to use in this particular as he did with Sakura Chio. The same can be said about the respective abilities of people like Kakuzu and Nagato, because in Nagato's case, Nagato was reanimated when he was in his like half dead.
Yeah, frail.
Yeah, like because he only got chakra. He only got peak condition when he absorbed B's chakra. So, and then the same respective case could be made for Kakuzu, because Kakuzu in the war arc had to start stealing people's hearts in order to like replenish the ones that he lost. And
Kakuzu didn't do very well in the war arc, regardless.
Exactly, yeah. So like we honestly, now that I think about it, like Obito might have a slightly easier time now that like they're nerfed or extra nerfed, because I guess when they've reanimated slightly nerfed already. So now certain members of this army, quote unquote, might be even more nerfed, like we just said, like Sasori, Kaku, and Nagato. So Itachi's the only one that's coming in full force, really. Oh, I guess Deidara too, but I mean,
depending on how much clay he uses.
Exactly, yeah. So like, I mean, strictly speaking, Itachi's really the only one coming in with full force packing. So I mean, there's a really good chance that I feel like Obito may get the win. Who knows? I mean, what do you think?
We also have to take into account Kabuto himself, who is pretty powerful.
Yeah.
He has Sage Mode. He has all the abilities of the Sound 4 and Kimimaro back in the day, all the Orochimaru abilities and stuff. So he can be problematic as well.
Yeah.
Even if he mainly lets the Edo Tensei fight.
Yeah.
But in order for Obito to win this, it would just be extremely difficult because, as far as we know, he doesn't have a sealing ability.
Yeah. No, not that I'm aware of. No.
Would he have to Kamui every single Edo Tensei into the Kamui dimension? They would still be quote-unquote alive in there. And then if you Kamui the first one, well, Obito can no longer use Kamui to phase through stuff, because then the Edo Tensei inside the Kamui dimension is going to attack him from within, just like Akashi was doing in the war and negating the Kamui thing.
Yeah. Well, another thing too that we have to, because I on the Kamui argument, I wonder if because the Edo Tenseis are technically summons, I wonder if it's possible for Kabuto to just resummon them if they get lost into Kamui.
True. I didn't even think of that, but it's very possible.
Because in one of our previous videos we mentioned like Kaguya summoning to Team 7 to another dimension, but somehow Sasuke's Hawk is somehow able to just negate that. So I wonder
it's kind of dumb. I don't think it should work like that. I think there's more merit for you to think that this is possible.
for the Edo Tensei, yeah. So like, I wonder like, I mean, if that's the case, then Kamui, unless it's phasing through attacks, Kamui might be rendered useless. Like the whole Kamui GG might be rendered useless. So, yeah. So he might have to. I mean, he might. Unless Obito is like not aware of this possibility, he might just have to go in restriction. No, like knowing that Kamui is going to be restricted, unless he just wants to phase through an attack. So
yeah. And if that's the case, then what can he do against the Edo Tensei?
Exactly.
They're going to regenerate if he attacks them somehow. I mean, he has Wood Style, which he never really uses in his adult form. He just does it once against Naruto in the war, like wrapping a little bit of a Wood Style branch around his arm to attack Naruto. And of course, he used it against the Mist Shinobis when he awakened the Mangekyo, but that was a long time ago, and he never used it again.
I'm about to say he's never used it. I never seen him use it when he has the orange mask on, for whatever reason.
He never really did it. No.
So yeah, like you said, like Kabuto himself is gonna be like the only thing he could do is he would have to be lucky enough to put Kabuto in a Genjutsu to release the Edo Tensei. That would be that's hard.
But even still, like Itachi and Sasuke were unable to do that because Kabuto knew how to counter the Sharingan Genjutsu. He blinded himself so that they wouldn't be able to look into his eyes, and he was just sensing things and sniffing things out with his snake senses.
Well, speaking of Itachi, though, like I wonder if this scenario plays out. So let's say like what I mentioned earlier about how he doesn't restrict Itachi's emotions, right? And like what if mid battle Itachi decides to use the crow and releases the Edo Tensei through the crow mid-fight. Like,
the problem is that the crow is with Naruto, right?
Oh, that's true. Yeah, that's right.
He wouldn't even
my bad.
really get access to it unless if you assume the crow be somewhere else for this fight.
Yeah, that's true. That's fair. I didn't even think about that. Well, I was trying to make this like scenario play out a little more trickier, but because that'd be crazy. That'd be crazy if that actually happened.
Yeah, I think the best chance for Obito here is to focus on Kabuto and try to Kamui Kabuto into the Kamui dimension. Because Kabuto, well, unless the Edo Tensei themselves can summon him back, like in a kind of a weird reverse summon, then he's gonna be stuck there.
Yeah.
And then Obito can retreat. Yeah, the Edo Tensei, they're not gonna vanish because the only way to make them vanish is for the caster to wave them away or to seal them. So they're still gonna be around, but Obito can retreat and just wait till Kabuto dies, and then you can deal with the Edo Tensei somewhere else. Or in another way.
I'm about to say he could do that. Like what he could do is like to say he, like you say, he's able to somehow Kamui Obito into the Kamui dimension and then retreats, right? And then goes into Kamui to try to deal with Kabuto while he's there. And then try to put Kabuto in a Genjutsu. That like without all the extra pressure being put on by the other Edo Tensei.
The only problem is that when Obito is inside the Kamui dimension, like his entire body, then he doesn't have the phasing ability.
Yeah, he's tangible the entire time. So
just like he was fighting against Kakashi there, his main ability was just not as
stripped away. There. Yeah. So
well, then there's another argument. Sure, maybe Kabuto's also in there, but could he use Sage mode in the Kamui dimension because Sage energy is around the entire world?
Yeah.
However, is it also inside the Kamui dimension because it's literally another place? So can you draw Sage energy in that dimension? I don't know. Maybe it would be just both of them fighting nerfed, like base Kabuto versus base Obito with other most powerful abilities here.
I'm about to say, if we do that, if that's the case, then do you think that base Obito without Kamui could beat Kabuto with the Sound 4's ability or Sound 5's ability? Like that's what it finally comes down to, really.
Yeah, without Sage mode, I think there's chance. Like Obito's actually pretty good in terms of speed and reaction time. Like he's not the top tier of the verse by any means, but in that particular point of the story, he was one of the most powerful ninjas when it came to just physical prowess. Because there's that scene that's very much overlooked when Suigetsu tries to attack Hisame with his Kubiki Rugosho sword, and Obito just blitzes in front of him and blocks the sword with his bare hand, like with his skin.
Yeah. Well, so everyone in the room is surprised too. Like everybody's surprised. Suigetsu, Sasuke, like everyone in the room is just like, "What the heck did you just do?" So it's like one of those things. Like, so you're right. Like you're definitely right. And plus, his wood style has got to be like. I mean, he's no Hashirama, but he's definitely.
It's gonna be something at least.
So
and because he doesn't have Sage Mode, he cannot use the cave shaping ability, the weird ability he has to like alter the terrain to his favor that he uses against Itachi as well.
Yeah.
So I think that's, I think Obito has the advantage here even without phasing. Because he also has regeneration, like he has half of his body Hashirama cells.
That's right. Plus he has Izanagi just in case like something does happen. Like, I mean, he has like a little whoopsie in the fight and he gets killed, but he does have Izanagi. But then, I mean, and that's the thing too is like I thought about this too is, if we're doing this in canon, so Obito might actually have some good knowledge about the Sound Force since Sasori was had a spy within the Akatsuki, which was Kabuto. Like who knows how much information Kabuto fed to the Akatsuki about Orochimaru. Like that might be like a stretching it a bit, but it's not something that I wouldn't, because Obito, you're always surprised at what Obito knows. You know what I'm saying? Like Obito, it wouldn't surprise me that Obito knows the abilities of the Sound Five.
And also, we're not so sure if Kabuto needs Sage Energy to perform those abilities with the Sound 4 quote-unquote bodies inside of him. Like, I'm not sure if that's ever explained.
Yeah, because we never see him use it after, like before he enters Sage Mode. But then it's like one of those things where like he just so happened to use it after he went into Sage Mode.
Yeah, so, maybe that's the case. We just don't know. I mean, if he doesn't have that, then he would just have the more basic Orochimaru abilities and his own abilities, like the scalpels and stuff. Even though, like, Kabuto, he is not a slouch. Even without Sage Mode in Part 1, he was trading blows with Tsunade. So, sure, that Tsunade was nerfed, but still, Kabuto's not going to go down in a single punch or a single attack from Obito here.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Aside from Kamui, like, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but Obito doesn't have a whole lot of like one-shot attacks. I guess aside from maybe his
without the Rinnegan, I can't see any. No.
Exactly. So it's like one of those, like you said, like Kabuto's not going down easy. So if they're in the combo dimension, they're both nerfed, like we just said. Then I don't know. I honestly think it's a 50-50 chance. I give it a 50-50 because they're both like, I mean, they're both like freaking main villains of the war, or two of the main villains of the war.
And the thing is, Obito can fight a war of attrition here, because he can hop in and out of the Kami dimension and like rest, maybe prepare himself a little bit further, and then re-engage Kabuto. So
true. Well, unless Kabuto is able to reverse someone out of there. With the
if we're assuming he can't, then he can kind of use this War of Attrition style to fight against him.
Yeah. So I mean, so kind of wrapping this up. So I guess I mean at this point, it either comes down to if it goes back to the Edo Tensei army plus Kabuto himself. I think Kabuto comes out on top more often than not, because not necessarily in killing Obito, but Obito will just have to retreat, because I don't think Obito's going to get if you want to count that as Kabuto winning, then Obito doesn't get,
because dealing with the Edo Tensei would just be too problematic for him. He would just have Kamui, and as we've established, Kamui wouldn't be very useful in this situation.
Yeah. Well, as I said, I wanted to give like Obito something, because again, he is reviving at least 3 potential Edo Tenseis that are going to be nerfed. But even still, I still think Sage Kabuto himself plus 5 Akatsuki members is still a lot of pressure to put on even someone like But if we're doing the whole Kamui dimension nerf thing that we just put to y'all, then I think it's a 50-50 chance. I honestly couldn't tell you, because I wanted to give it to Kabuto, because I think Kabuto might actually have more versatility in terms of like on-screen abilities rather than Obito, because Obito, let's be honest, like Obito's legit, right? But in terms of like how he gets the win in most fights, it's usually with Kamui. So like, Wood style is strong, but so is a lot of Kabuto's versatile abilities. So
I think if Kabuto fights against Obito using his Sound 5 abilities, those should be pretty equivalent to the Wood style Obito displayed in the fight against the Mist Village there. Because we don't see the entire fight on screen or on page, but the final shot when there's that massive swirling wood-style attack that kind of engulfed a lot of the
like
Mist
a
Ninjas.
Game of
That's
Thrones
pretty
scene.
powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
so I think that can pretty much clash against, say, Kimaru's Forest of Bones, for example, which is probably the most powerful jutsu in terms of raw strength that he would have.
Yeah. Well, another thing too is, let's say, like, I mean, Kabuto also does have summoning jutsu. So, like, let's say, for example, like, if he chose not to reverse summon out of there and by way of making it easier on himself, he could just add an extra couple summons, like a couple of giant snakes to help him out. You know, so like,
yeah,
I don't know. Like I said, I wanted to give it to Obito, but like, he's in his worst possible place when he has to fight in Kamui. So if he did that, if he chose to go into Kamui to try to finish Kabuto off, then I don't think Obito would get the win. But plus, like you said, like, Obito does have regen, but so does Kabuto, and Kabuto's regen is nothing to sniff at either. So
yeah. I think Obito's best chance here would be to fight with Izanagi activated, because we know Obito's Izanagi lasts for at least 10 minutes, because that's the amount of time Conan's paper explosives were detonating down there, and after the jutsu finishes, Obito comes and says, "Oh, okay, yeah, I actually survived."
Yeah.
So it implies his Izanagi lasts for at least 10 minutes, because he has Hashirama cells. He's an actual Uchiha, so he has more prowess than Danzo did when he was using his Izanagi for 1 minute. So he would technically have 10 minutes of immortality to fight against Kabuto if Kabuto doesn't, reverse summon himself out of the Kamui dimension. But still, it's complicated. Even if you use that possibility, maybe Obito's Izanagi in the Conan fight lasts for less than 10 minutes, and he just kind of teleported back to the surface of the ocean instead of just staying in there.
Yeah.
We don't know exactly how that happened, but
yeah. Well, like I said, when it comes to Obito without Kamui, he doesn't have a whole lot of one-shot abilities. So, like, it's one of those things where I think Kabuto's defenses would be able to outlast Obito in the Kamui dimension within that time limit. Personally, to me, again, he's just so versatile. And his regen is crazy, and again, that's not even really getting into the possibility of if he can use Sage Mode or not. We're restricting Sage Mode in that situation. So
if he can use Sage Mode in that situation, then Obito is absolutely screwed.
Yeah,
like, he was cutting Itachi in half when he was fighting against him in Edo Tensi, and he was relative to him and Sasuke in speed. So that's pretty crazy.
So, like I said, if it's wrapping it up, if it's in the Edo Tensei army outside, I think Obito can't win, but I don't think he loses. He would just have. So if you want to count that as a loss, then fine, or a draw maybe. But I don't think Obito can kill Kabuto. But conversely, I don't really think that Kabuto will be able to get the kill either, because of the 3 potential nerfed Edo Tensei as well. And then if he goes into the Kamui dimension and Obito decides to try to take him out there, I don't think Obito's getting the win either. I think he'll have to just retreat again if maybe Kabuto can get lucky enough to get the kill. So
yeah, Obito was kind of full of it when he was like, "No, I don't care about the Edo Tensei army you just brought here." It's kind of the same thing you can say when he declared war against the 5 great nations. What was his plan there? It was just going to use the White Zetsu army against
for real
5 great nations without the Edo Tensei. Like, Kabuto literally saved Obito in the entire situation of the war.
Well, I guess he hoped that
he also he strengthened the White Zetsus as well with Yamato's body and stuff. So,
well, I guess he might have thought that the other tail beast that he did have, like, would have made up for some kind of depravity in numbers, but I don't know. But so I guess that's gonna do it for today. Now here's the thing, I've seen a lot of people ask me about White Mask War Arc Obito versus this same Sage Kabuto, and honestly, that could be a part 2. So if y'all want a part 2, be sure to let me know in the comments below, and I will be more than happy to do it. Daigo, if you want to be on that video with me again, I'd be more than happy to have you on.
Yeah.
All right, well, that will do it for us today. Daigo, thank you for being on the channel with me again.
Thanks for having me.
Again, make sure y'all like and subscribe to the channel. Make sure you post in the comments below if you want the part 2. Until my next video, LightningSnow, out.